All right, those joining just now, go ahead and go to check in for week 5. We get started here in about 3 minutes. All right, those just joining, make sure and go to week 5, submit your name. We'll get started in just a moment. Hello. Hey, how you doing? Might be, maybe. Find out. Go and have a seat. Get started in about a minute. You can go ahead and check in online. I'm gonna use my iPad to view the chat module, if you don't mind. My eyes are shot today, so it's dark up here, so I apologize. Hope it doesn't bother you. All right, those just joining online, make sure and go to week 5, put your name in the check-in module. We're gonna get started here in about 2 minutes. All right, those just joining online, make sure and go to week 5 module, click on the check-in, and put your name in the check-in module. All right, those just joining, make sure and go to week 5, click on the check-in module, post your name. We'll get started here in about a minute. Can you see it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, those just joining, we're going to ready to get started. Go to week 5 module, click the check-in module, post your name. All right, let's go and get started. This week we're going to be covering in the reading, you're going to be doing preprocessors, directives, and then also in the take home and the in class examples are going to be going over multifunctions and functionalities, simple functions, multifunctions, which is used a lot in programming. Let's go ahead and get started here. And one of the reasons why functions are used a lot within any programming language is to make processes more efficient. They can be reused within an application and in multiple applications. So when you create a process or a function in one app, can be used in multiple apps. So you don't have to duplicate or reinvent the wheel. So as you begin building apps and you build a tool set of functions, even if you move them to other languages, it's going to function the same, if that makes sense. So what you learn in C++ can be transferred over to Java, JavaScript, Python, Swift, every language you ever will learn in the future. Go, which is a popular Google language, and so C#, Visual Basic, all the languages some of you might have already taken here on campus or you're currently learning, which I'm a big believer in learning on your free time, which I know most of you don't have much, but learning other languages also is beneficial while you're learning C++. An example I'll give you here, this week, working on a program with a local company, 5 different languages are used in one program. Got a web app, mobile app. Web app's going to use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and jQuery. It's actually going to be more than 5 or 6. And then mobile is Swift and Kotlin. And then a Windows app, which is using the .NET framework. All of them in one project. And so it's not uncommon to have a multi-language project within your application development lifecycle. And so this we're going to be covering mainly functions and functionalities. You're all familiar already with functions and function prototypes. We're going to be playing around with a lot multi-functions and talk a little bit about that and about what that's all about. So reading this week, Chapter 12 on Modern C++, Chapter 10 on Practical C++. Solo Learn is classes and objects. Screenshot the checkboxes when you're finished. Just a note on Solo Learn. Some of you are already doing this, I know. There is other languages you can start learning. If I was to recommend one, if you've not yet played with it yet or started with it, is Python. In May, I'll be teaching an Internet of Things course, 4 weeks, and we'll be using exclusively Python, coding sensors. I'll show you an example here. I know I've mentioned it to you in the first couple of weeks, but it's been a while with all the campus closures and stuff. So let me show you the app here for it. rbc.iot.app. Those web developers, if you're interested in purchasing domain for a website, I'll make this a little smaller. I recommend the .app domain. If you register it or purchase it through GoDaddy, it comes with the SSL certificate, which is normally about $75 a year, and it's built into the .app domain cost. So I bought this one for a 2-year domain cost was like $26. That includes your SSL certificate and your domain. The host on this website is actually being hosted on GitHub. So I'm not paying any hosting fees, only domain fees. So I know some of you are into web app development. It might just something to save you some money. If you need help on any of that, you can shoot me an email. I have a step-by-step how to do that, creating an app and posting it on GitHub. Okay, so IoT, Internet of Things, I'll jump right to some of the stuff about IoT. Some of you are already aware of it. By a chat response, and the one student I have in here, does anybody have Internet of Things device at home, like a Ring doorbell or a, I don't know, Nest device or controlling lights or like Philips Hue, any of those type of devices? If you guys have, just post what you have in your home or at work that you're using that's an Internet of Things device. Another Internet of Things device is smartwatches. Any smartwatch would be an Internet of Things device. There you go. So you got an Apple Watch, you got a Droid Watch, you got a Swatch, you got, I think Fossil's even coming out with some smartwatches that they actually look nice. I don't know functionality wise, but it's Google Home. Yeah, that's a popular one. Google Home. I'm guessing some have Alexa, probably. I'm trying to think of what else. There's even, what was it? Yeah, Google Home. That was one, a number of them mentioned already. I'm trying to think of what else. There's, as far as Internet of Things devices, any type of sensor in your car that you can control, like remote control, remote start, your car, that would be considered Internet of Things. So if you have a vehicle that you can start remotely or check tires remotely or do anything like that, that would be Internet of Things. So basically, Internet of Things is anything over the web that you can control, whether it's viewing a report or controlling the device. So I noticed in here thermostat, some of you said Ring, Amazon Echo, Google Home, WYZE camera. There's a lot of security cameras out. The one I use at the house I really like, and it's pretty inexpensive. I got it at Sam's about a year ago. Let me see if I can find it here. It's called TEND Secure. Tend Secure. I'll type it in the chat. Tend Secure is a company name, and it's about $70 for 2 cameras, and you can put them anywhere in your house, connect them to Wi-Fi, and then it uses an iOS or Android device to remote in, and you can set up, motion sensors and all that good stuff. But pretty reasonable. It doesn't cost anything for the cloud service, by the way. It just deletes you have so much per month, and it just deletes whenever it's overwritten. Kind of like the Ring doorbell, but for in your house for sensing things. So we use it sometimes to watch the pets when we're away, things like that. So anyway, good responses. So here's the website, Internet of Things, that we've created for the course in May. There's a couple of stats I want to mention about Internet of Things. One of the earliest examples of Internet of Things device is in the 70s, and we all use them now every day, ATM. ATM is an Internet of Things device. The very first one went online. It's connected to, at that time, I'm guessing a modem, maybe even a dial-up modem, possibly, more than likely, to the bank to authenticate transactions, things of that nature. Big business already use it. Morgan Stanley, point 2 here, says that intelligent BI, business intelligence, estimates that to be surrounded by more than 75 billion IoT devices by 2020. That's what, next year? With roughly means 7 devices per person alive at that time. Is how many? That's a lot of devices. So, and we already see it happening. Everybody, pretty much, or everybody and your brother, or everybody that either has a smart device on them all the time, or they're thinking about getting one for their home or for their person. From sports, you can get devices that keep your heart rate, like your watch. We all know those, but there's even inventions happening all the time that keeps track of see if you have attack arrhythmia in your heart, and it can tell your doctor so you can save your life from kidneys and all that good stuff. Third, $60 trillion investment. GE claims investments in industrial IoT devices is $60 trillion over the next 15 years. Now, industrial-based IoT is basically inventory, really. A lot of it's inventory, meaning IoT, when a bin starts getting empty, will automatically order something, right? Or an order comes in, and IoT, and Amazon uses this already in their warehouses, and so does a big one, Harley Davidson, uses theirs to cut cost. So in warehouse, one of the big things that wastes money is 2 things. One is bad inventory management, where you run out of a part, you lose a sale because somebody has to wait too long. Or you run out of part, you keep the sale, but it still takes a while to get the part in and ship it. Still maybe lose some sales over that. So inventory is real important. So IoT can sense things like when you bring an item out of a bin, it can have sensors in there to determine, you got 3 items left. We're going to order some. It does it automatically. To shipping, when you're through shipping, putting your stuff in your box, it can determine, or do you have the label printed out, or do you have it ready to go onto the box, and even send it to the right truck via the conveyor belt or whatever it is it's on. So a lot of money invested in business or industrial IoT. The other industrial IoT would be forklifts and movable shelves. Robotic movable shelves that are Internet of Things devices that basically can go to any shelf on the floor in a factory, pick it up, and then move to the location to where the person's packing the box, and then put it back. Versus having to go to that shelf and get a ladder or whatever. To forklifts that can go using IoT to certain shelves and get things down. So a lot of money spent on that. Number 4, big businesses are already using it to get ahead of the curve. In 2018, Forrester found 23% of big global businesses, enterprises opted for more IoT solutions, comparing to just 14% of small, medium size. Somebody mentioned in the chat that a lot of people are using home security systems, cameras centered around Raspberry Pi, which also can be used as a base for IoT. Dark side of IoT would be security. Because it's growing so fast, the downside is security hasn't caught up to the growth. And so one of the big things programmers will be doing in the next few years is securing these devices. So there'll be jobs for that. Wearables, talked about that already, 26 billion by this year, growing to 26 billion. And wearables, fitness trackers, smartwatches, everything that has to do with on your person or in your vehicle type of wearable device. Even wearables can refer to clothing as well. Wearables on shoes for runners to determine when the shoe health is getting low, to gait, to how long they've ran, things of that nature. Smart homes, already mentioned in the chat, a lot of you already do the smart home devices. Thermostat Nest, Philips Hue, other automated devices that are out there. And company named Zion, Smart Home Automation Market Group, said that it could grow to 53 billion IoT home devices by 2022. And then Return on investment, 94% of businesses have adopted IoT in some form or fashion. And then everybody already knows about, not just Elon Musk anymore, all the car manufacturers are now into autonomous driving, from Ford to Chevy to, Toyota, all the different manufacturers, whether it's full automation or partial automation, that's IoT as well. Gartner says by 2020, next year, 250 million vehicles will be connected to the internet to improve in-vehicle services and automated driving. How many of you is already connected to some way IoT on your vehicle? You have IoT in yours? Do you have any type of, or your dad or mom or grandparents? Even I'm thinking like, and they don't have to be, you know, accessories anymore. They're like added into the base vehicles now, I believe, like in 2018, 2019 releases. If nothing else, determining maintenance and things like that, where everything's at, maintenance levels. Right, see who's got anything. Nope, no vehicles. All right. Well, let's go ahead and go to the IoT adoption. 77% of connected industries in 2018 already currently have IoT. 55% of healthcare have IoT, and cars, 54% of manufacturers have them. So the projects we'll be going over in May are these 4 projects: motion detection, controlling a servo, and wearables like controlling wearable lights. The one mentioned here, shown here, is like wearables for, it could be jewelry, to temperature reading. We're going to do one per Saturday. Each one of these projects have built into them, like this left project, the motion detection. On the left is an Arduino motion sensor. On the right of that is a photon particle device. And Photon Particles, like the #1 company now for Internet of Things. So all these projects will be using Arduino sensor of some type, right? And then a photon particle device. Now this one's kind of cool. The second one, the control and servo. This is just a simple picture box, frame box, with a piece of paper on the back end that says, "What should I wear outside?" It checks the temperature every 15 minutes through a Python script, and then it moves the servo arm to whatever the weather's like. So if you need to wear a jacket, get a shovel, whatever. And this one, I did put a link in here to the actual project, which is a popular site used for IoT called hackster.io. And this is actually the project that we'll be creating. It's got a particle photon, shadow box, and Arduino servo. Arduino servo is about $7. Shadow box about $3 or $4 if you shop around, and the photon particle runs around 19, $20 per particle device. That's what it looks like. It's a Wi-Fi module that can connect to any device that needs to be controlled. Particle.io, the company Particle, gives developers 250 projects at no cost to host on their cloud to play around with. They also have, what's cool about the particle devices, they not only have Wi-Fi devices that once you set them up, you can connect them to a rechargeable battery. They also have cellular ones. So this one's Wi-Fi here. You can also buy cellular ones as well. And it costs a little bit more. But basically, you can set it anywhere in the world, and it can connect to a local cell tower to push the data or pull the data. And so 4 projects we'll be doing: motion detection, control servo, wearable, and temperature reading. The temperature reading for, like, the popular one for this one is you could have a sensor near a dryer, or maybe a sensor in a refrigerator to make sure the temperature is good if you have a restaurant or even in your home. If it's a dryer sensor, when it gets to a certain temperature, the dryer, when it gets below a certain temperature, it'll alert you the dryer's done, something like that. So just some examples. These are 4 popular examples that we'll be doing, 1 project per Saturday. Somebody posted also in here the BMW remote controlling, which they definitely are probably a leader. And then automatic.com, a car connected assistant that gives you more knowledge about your car and confidence to worry less on the road. That's a very popular, tons of apps on that one. I know a lot of folks that use that. So hopefully you're interested in that. We'll be rolling that out in May and summer 1. Next, I want to mention, because we'll be posting some jobs here in the next 2 days. If you haven't already bookmarked our website for our division, myrbc.org, we'll be posting some internships for local schools in IT and networking and local businesses. We're still working out the details with all those folks, like 4 or 5 different posts. And then as soon as we post them, we'll put them here in the myrbc.org jobs page. And you'll also get a notification. We'll be posted on social media as well. So make sure and follow us on our Twitter and Facebook page, either one. If you go down to the bottom of the page, the link for our social media are here. So avail yourself to that. And we do have also an Android and iOS app as well for the division. Okay, next podcast, you're watching that. Examples. We got a number of examples on functions. I'm going to start with some simple examples and go to some multifunctional examples. I'm going to look at this simple functions first, the third one down under 5 examples. And this is just rehashing functions. But basically, on this function here, it adds on this app is going to add 2 numbers, integer numbers, and return a result. So in this example here, it's got in the main, calling the sum function on line 7 in the main, calling out 5 argument and 100 integer argument. Goes to the sum, int 1, int 2, comes in, there's num1, num2, sums it, puts it in num3 value, and returns it. Pretty simple here. And so this one here, notes in here the value 5 plus 100, going to be 105. So if we changed it to 200, 205, so on and so forth. So that's a simple function. We've already went over these, just kind of a rehash. But I want to kind of build on that. One of the things you'll notice with this function here, that it is returning a value. With functions can or cannot return a value depending on what you need it to do. A lot of times you will return a value just to save a step in your code, which is a popular way to do it. The second one I want to look at is the function prototypes, the first example. Okay, prototypes, and there's a few notes on this one that I put in the comments, but to declare a function prototype as a function as a prototype, they already contain all what's necessary to call them: their name, the types of the argument, the return type, and void in this case, no return. With these prototype declarations in place, they can be called before they're entirely defined. And the reason you want to do a prototype in functions is for memory purposes. The more functions you have in an app, as you can imagine, apps can get tons of functions built into it. And if you declare them as a function prototype, they're now in memory once at load, and the app knows what that function is and what the requirements for that function is. Allowing for an example to place the function from where they are called in the main, as always, before the actual definition of these functions. But declaring functions before being defined is not only useful to reorganizing the order of functions within the code. In some cases, such as in this particular case, we're going to look at least one of the declarations is required because odd or even are mutually called. And there's a call to even and odd and a call to odd and even. and therefore there's no way to structure the code so the odd is defined before even or even before odd. So you'll see here in the declaration, we have our preprocessor directive, namespace standard. Then here in the lines 10 and 11 is where you define the parameters for the two functions. So we have two functions we're calling the prototype functions. The first function, and both are void, no return value. One's called odd, one's called even. Both of them have an integer argument. And you'll notice it's outside the main. And we can add as many as we need to. And before you begin developing an app, and I know some of you already work on your final app, sometimes when you're starting to work on an app, you'll do something longer than what it needs to be, just to understand what you need to do. And then you can simplify it, make it more simplistic and more easier to call and use memory management better. So all this is doing really is a couple things. It's managing your code in a structured format by doing defining your parameters to functions. And then secondly, it's allowing you to better define them as far as comments and things of that nature too. We can add more comments in each one before they're even called. So let's look at the main first, then we'll go into the odd and even actual functions. So in the main, we're declaring an integer I, doing a do while loop while I is not equal to 0. The user is going to be prompted to please enter a number and 0 to exit. So it's got to be a number beyond 0. And then so they enter in the number in the CIN line on line 18, it eats it. And then line 20, it calls that prototype add and pushes it to that. And let's go there. So here we're going to look at the X value is going to be here for the mod 2. It's going to be look to see if it's a modulus is not equal to 0. If it's not equal to 0, it's going to be odd. And modulus leftover of a divisional statement. Else, it's going to push it to the even function. Go to the even function. Same, we'll say we'll put 2 in here. Or let's say we put, 2. That'd be a good example. It's going to go to the else path. And comes here to the void even. 2. Well, is this equal to 0? Yep. Mod type 2 not equal to 0 instead of not equal to 0. Yes, it is. I mean, there's not a leftover. It's going to be even. The difference between the two if statements, the first ones is mod or the value modulus not equal to 0. If it is not equal to 0, it's odd. If it is equal to 0, it's even. So let's go ahead and run it. You can enter whatever value you want. I'm going to put in an odd one, then I'll put in an even one. So let's see, I'll put 3 is odd. Then I'll go ahead and put 8 is even. Do one more. Let's do 7. Odd. And now I'll go ahead and hit 0 to exit. Okay. Next one. Let's go to the simple math functions, the last one. And then we'll go to the last one. Next to the last one first. All right, so this was a simple math one, and we're going to save the multi one to last, the multi that you're going to be doing as your take home. In this one, we do have a math preprocessor directive we're bringing in, include statement for a math. We'll be doing some math functionalities or our name standard. Here we have a prototype that does have a return value of an integer. The integer is going to be called to that function, 2 integers. It's got another function, and we'll have you be playing around with one here in a second, but we'll just run this as is for right now. I'll be having you fill in something here on line 8. Line 10, the modulus, 2 integers. So in this one here, in the main, two integers, x and y, enter the first number, then enter the second number, and then the sum of these two is going to call the sum x and y, and then it kicks out and goes to the mod of these two. It goes to that function. It kicks out what that is. So the two functions are pretty simple. We have a sum function that returns an int value. We have a mod function that returns the int value as well for modulus. So let's go ahead and run it. I'll go up to the code where it's at. So first number, I'll go ahead and do 1. Second number, I'll do 3. Sum of these two is 4, and modulus of 3 divided by 1 is left over 1. Let's do another one. Okay, let's do 4 for the first number, and let's do 10 for the second number. So sum of these two is 14. Modulus left over of that is 4. So again, two function prototypes. Now what I want you to do is put in a new function here on line 8, and you're going to declare it as a divisional function with two integers, just like the other two. And then you'll have to go down and add that function here on line 41, where it says define it. Actually, what I do have to call the sum mod. Yep, this should be divide here instead of mod, but you can see it. Go ahead and add in the divide function here. Mod's already been done. And then in the main, add it. So you'll add a function for divisional and a function for, let's go ahead and do multiply of that as well. So two function prototypes, one for divisional, one for multiplication, and then add those two functions below your code at the bottom, and then add them into your main. You already have the sum, modulus, and then you're going to add divisional and multiplication. So we'll do that. Give me a moment to do that. All right, whoever gets theirs done first, if you want to go ahead and share your replit in the chat module, I will share it online here with everybody. Instead of me doing it, I'll just have you do it. So whoever gets it first done, go ahead and go to the share button here on Replit. If you're not signed in already, you'll have to sign in. I believe it lets you share it without being signed in, but either way, you know how to do it. So go ahead and after you get yours running correctly, go ahead and hit the share button. You copy that URL and paste it in the chat. And then if you want to, you can paste yours and just send me an email message or something if you want to. Cool. So those online can do it in the chat. Now I can share more than one example, by the way. And then we do have a student in here. You can share yours on email, and I can show everybody's example. You might call a little bit different than another person and do something a little different possibly. We're declaring two prototypes, one for divisional, one for multiplication, adding those two functions and then adding them into the main in addition to the summing and the modulus statement. As soon as you make your change in the replet, just hit share, and then it'll allow you to share it. That share link. Awesome. All right. Ethan's got one here. I'll push it over everybody here. We got one from Ethan. Let's look at that. So let's see here. Added in the prototype for division. Great, great. Let's go ahead and run it. More data type decoration. Man, let's see what we're going on here. X and Y. Line. Call 10. See, got int. Yeah, that's right. Divide, int. Okay, that's all right. Two more data types and declaration of main and main. And X, Y. Let me bring up my other browser so I can see if I can fix it for you. Oh, extra int. Extra int. Let's go back to my Safari. Ah, there it is on line 11. Thank you, Jody. All right. Now let's play it. That's why it's good to have more than two eyes. There we go. First number 2, second number 3. Sum is 5, divisional 0, mod is 2. Good job. Let's see. Did you want to share yours or no? Okay. That's all right. All right, cool. So you guys see how it works. Now I'm going to share the last one here, the last example, if I could, which is more multi-function example. Let me close out some of these tabs here. All right, I want to look at the multi-function one, the second one down on the example. This is more in line with what you'll be doing for your homework. Now this one's got a couple things different. Two things different actually. You're doing a C standard library, also doing IO manip for formatting and string for inputting and exporting properly. We get into the prototypes here. We've got a void prototype as a choice, 3 integers, choice A and B. Next prototype is a return int A and B. Subtract, same, A and B. Multiply, same, A and B. Float, divide, A and B, so we can have decimals on that. And then modulus, A and B. Void display menu. This is going to be for formatting purposes only on this, so it looks nice. You'll see in a second. And then all the functions, the add, the subtract, the multiply, the divisional, the modulus, and how to make the divisional needed to be float. You'll see in a second to be able to have decimals, and then modulus. The answer one will have an int result, a string reply, and a switch statement. And depending on the switch statement, it's going to call to this whatever function. It says here result is 99999. The answer is invalid. Try again, or it's going to kick out. And inside the main, kicks out the nice menu you'll see in a second. 3 variables, integer, your choice A and B, a char for confirm, then a do loop, do while loop, while the user enters in either the lowercase y or uppercase y, either one. Going to enter in their choice 1 through 5, and the 1 through 5 choice should be add, subtract, multiply, divide, or modulus. They enter their choice in, enter the 2 numbers separated by a space, and there's A and B. It kicks it into A and B. Then sends it to the answer, your choice, A, B, and displays it. And then ask again, they want to do continue or not. It starts the whole process over again. In the while statement, you'll also notice there's a get cn.get that will eat a line so it doesn't crash or do formatting weird before the return 0. So let me go ahead and run this. So there's our formatting menu, and I'll go up to show you that, which is, let's make the screen a little bit nicer here. So there's our formatting menu, which calls the display menu in the main. So display menu, that's what we're seeing. Now, whenever I enter a choice here in the display menu, and notice all it's doing is displaying information right now. That's it. That's a whole function need. Then it's going to take that, confirm whatever it is. So I'm going to go ahead and enter in, let's say 1. And here, it takes that choice that I just entered in. And it says add 2 integers separated by a space. And I'm going to do an add, so we'll do 2 space 2, 4. And so, yes, I want to continue. We'll do y. This time we'll do 3 for subtract or multiply. Do again, 2 space 3, 6. Last one we will do, let's do divisional 4. Let's do, 6 space 3. All right. And let's see if we can even go further on that. Let's see, let's do one more on the divisional. Let's see, 4 to 23 space 13, or 24 space 13. And that's where it's not kicking it out correctly on that one. That's why I wanted to do it again. Let's do it again. All right, let's do modulus. 2 space 4, 2. There you go. And let's finally go ahead and do any other key, doesn't matter. And it ends. Okay. So I'm going to expand this a little bit, go over it again. So display was pulled first, well, first of all, function prototypes. Secondly, display menu. Then after display menu was called, and you'll notice in the display menu, it's just doing a multiple couts. That's all it's doing. When the user does enter in a value, it's going to actually have them enter that choice in the do statement, and it's going to go into the your choice variable, two variable numbers, two integer numbers. In this case, whatever numbers they chose is a sum, 2 plus 2, 2, 2. Goes to your choice, the answer function, and has that a or that 2 and 2, and then the your choice. So let's go there. That should be up near the bottom, I think, on that one. Blum, blum, blum. The answer module, there it is. Just past it, there it is. So choice AB. So the switch statement's used for the choice, so it's going to be 1 through 5. And so in this one, it's going to go to 1, add, and then bring in 2, 2. And here it's going to call the add function, which we know what that one looks like, and bring back the result. And in here, since it's a void, there's no return value needed on that one. And in the main, what it's going to do is actually just once it gets that answer back, it's going to show it here on the screen, right where it's at, and then ask, hey, do you want to continue or not? And then start the whole process over again with the confirm. All right. So that's the multifunction. Again, the biggest one is multi prototype, some return, some non-return. Now for the take home, let's go over that. And I did get through grading all of the prior lab or assignments finally. So let's look at the lesson 5. Okay, so for this example, you are going to write a program that will prompt the user 1 to 5, and you can look at the example I gave you tonight, make different changes, make different modifications to your program. For a challenge, what I'd like you to do is play up as far as moving around the menu, maybe adding other mathematical functions in there, other mathematical equations possibly, and formatting. This example here is the one I just showed you on multifunctions. And the program will ask the user to decide whether he or she wants to continue the operation or not. If they put Y, uppercase, lowercase y, either one, it's going to continue on. Otherwise, the program will terminate. So for a challenge, add more menus, maybe different functions besides the ones that you have here. And when you do a challenge or when you do extra credit, like some of you have been doing, just make sure and add in the message that you added the new functionalities within your code. I will be posting some students' examples from last semester that were pretty cool as far as what they did with it, as far as formatting. Because I think the more you see on formatting, especially for set width formatting, things of that nature, it might help you with your code as far as setting function formatting properly. The more information you have and the more examples you have, I think the better you'll be at understanding formatting better when it comes to develop. And C++ is different because, again, we're dealing with console based, but still, it'll help you on any language to understand formatting or string manipulation. So the main thing to get this week is to play as much as you can with functions, understanding functions, and multifunction procedures. Chapter 5 or Chapter 10, Practical C++. And I've not yet posted the answers to these yet, but I will be posting after this week answers to prior review questions in the in our course, like I do with the code each week. And then you got your 5 discussion, what the main benefits of using functions in your app. And once I get through posting the answers for the review questions, let me show you where they're going to be, and I'll email you when that's done. But I know it's going to be in the modules section. And let's see if I'm going to put them at the very bottom where I have the examples. Yeah, in the solutions right now I have the code one. I have another one for review questions. Is where I'll put them at. That way you can check against yours. Because as long as you're in the right ballpark with your review questions, I'm giving you the answer. I'm giving you 100%. But you might be off by a word or two or whatever. So I'm not going to knock off for that. So we are in week 5. So next week we'll be looking at as far as our discussion and assignment. We'll be looking at the abstract uses of C++. So we're more into declaring and using classes, starting classes next week. The next few weeks actually be playing with classes, which I think is vital in programming. Just looking ahead a little bit. Let's look at the examples. Pointers, another powerful. You probably touch pointers a little bit in 276, I'm guessing. Maybe at least a week or two, hopefully. If not, we'll be covering a lot on pointers. And the reason I look ahead a little bit is each week, hopefully what you're doing is taking your homework or your final app that you're working on and adding to it little by little. And if you need to refresh yourself on your GitHub information as far as posting your code, right now I wouldn't worry about it, but it's a good idea, those of you who are unfamiliar with GitHub, to how to use it. Let's see what week it was we went over on that. I think it's pretty early on I did the GitHub stuff. Let's see here, Replit, Solo. In fact, I might have it in the modules, easier accessing there. Blum, blum, blum. Nope. What is that? Let's see what week that was. I will find it. Nope. Final app idea, maybe. Yeah, there's final app idea. That's it. Final app idea, week 3. You might go back and revisit that to, begin continually working on your website, continually working on your app. That way you're not getting behind on your app, because hopefully each week you'll learn a little bit more on what you want to add to your app and go ahead and add it. Because I'd rather you do that than wait till week 10, 11, 12 to say, wow, I got a lot of work to do on my final app. So you have enough time to play with your take-home app and to complete it, and that's component to your final app. If you want me to look at your final app, what you're doing, or throw ideas on what you're doing at me, I don't mind helping you. Or if you need examples for your final app, that maybe you look at what we're going to be covering this semester, and you're like, we're not going to be covering this. Can you show me examples for this? I'd be more glad to help you on that. So just shoot me an email so I can help you with that. Any questions on take home this week or anything else before I'm done here tonight? Questions from you? Anybody from the online environment? Any questions for week 5? So again, I'm wrapping up week 5. Let's go over the syllabus view for week 5. We've got coming up the assignment we just went over, discussion on functions, review questions, and solo learn. Cool. Well, do me a favor before I end the online portion and the chat through YouTube. Just go ahead and say bye on the chat module. That way you know you're done and you don't have any further questions. As soon as I see everybody exiting, I will exit out. And if you're traveling and work tomorrow morning, please be careful, because it's supposed to be pretty bad early morning. And those of you who are traveling tonight, be careful as well. and we'll see everybody. Let's see here, make sure I'm right on that. I'm looking at my schedule here. Blum, blum, blum. Where we at? Week 6 next week. We will be online next week. 7 and 8 will be face to face. So I will remind everybody via email next week. So be safe. Have a good week. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. Cool.
For discussion 5, you
Yeah.
said, why is the main benefits of using function in your app? You mean what? You said why?
Oh yeah, should be what? Should be what? Yep, you are correct. I will fix that. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's always good to have a good person that knows grammar better than me. I used to